Hey there, friends. I want to give you guys a quick intro to this next video. A viewer of my Legally Armed America channel on YouTube reached out to me, and this viewer is a trans person. And they reached out to me, and through the course of emails, I lined up an interview with them because there were some issues in the gun community and in general some questions that I had. And I think a lot of you guys have the same questions. I'm going to try to be as respectful as I can in this interview, as you'll see. And I will also ask that if you have questions for my guest, please comment in the comment section down below, but be respectful, because I respect the fact that this person was willing to come on my channel. Knowing my history and knowing my thoughts on their position, I thought it was pretty brave of them to actually come on my channel, because I think most people jump to the wrong conclusion and assume the wrong thing about me, and this person did not. So enjoy the interview, but please comment down below and ask any questions to my guests that you might have, because they are willing to actually answer those questions once the interview airs. Okay, guys, today I have a friend of the program, Sage, on. Sage is a viewer of the videos here on Legally Armed America, has been watching for a little bit of a while now, and reached out to me through the comment section regarding one of my more current videos, saying that he was a part of the trans community. And again, I'm going to be careful with the whole pronoun thing right now. First of all, I want to mention this to the viewers and to Sage. As you guys know, that I'm guided by fairness, and I try to be as fair as I can to anybody, especially somebody who is a guest of my program. While I don't believe in the narrative and the approach of a person being able to select whatever gender they want and then demand everybody else call them by that pronoun, I do respect Sage for agreeing to come on this show. So Sage, I'm telling you that to let you know that I'm going to try not to use pronouns today out of respect to you, because I can't use the incorrect pronoun per my own system. In other words, I don't believe that you are whatever gender you pretend to be or think that you are. So I can't make myself use those pronouns. So I'm going to try to steer clear of those. And again, not to disrespect you, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Sage, welcome to the show, first of all. First thing I want to know, are you a gun owner?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Just a little bit of background on you real quick for the viewers. How old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20 years old. Okay. How long have you considered yourself to be trans?
Since I was 16.
Okay. And I sense a male voice. So were you born a...
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Male. I was born male, and
okay.
I'm trans female.
Okay. Have you done, or in your process, in the process of a full-blown transformation, or is just how you recognize yourself?
Well, if my main problem is that, trying to afford it, because this is America, but I have grown out my hair, and I do wear female clothes.
So no surgeries or medications or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
I got you. I follow you. And I'm not trying to get into your personal stuff. I'm just trying to, I guess, lay the backstory for our viewers out there. A couple of questions that I want to make sure that the viewers and you, I talked to you before we went on live about, you watch my program. Okay. So you know a little bit about me. You also know my position with the whole trans movement thing. Because of the research that I've done with the book that I wrote and just a lot of other things, if nothing else, curiosity, I've done a lot of research with the mind, psychology, and things like that. And of course, the condition, if you will, and I don't mean any disrespect by that, but the condition that you have is a medical condition called gender dysphoria. And it's a medical condition that's official in the DSM-5 purple book, if you want to call it purple book. I know some people call it the DSM, some people call it the purple book. But it's classified in there. So it is an actual medical condition. And I'm just curious if you acknowledge that, or do you think that I'm wrong by classifying that condition as an actual medical issue?
That is an actual medical issue. I know what that is, as I've known, I've suffered from it. So since I was a little kid.
So this is not a gotcha question. This is a follow-up question to that. So if you acknowledge that it is in fact a medical condition outlined in the DSM-5 book, okay, you said you're a gun owner. Have you purchased guns through an FFL dealer before?
I was gifted one.
You were gifted one. Okay. So you haven't filled out a 4473 yet.
No.
Okay. If you were to fill one out, and again, this is not a gotcha question, just give me your thoughts on this. One of the lines in there talks about mental condition, and I don't know what the exact wording is. I will put this on screen when we upload this video, but it does talk about that. How would you answer that question, knowing that what you have is a medical condition in the DSM-5 book?
I wouldn't really know what to do, but I'd probably have to do research on it because, well, I wouldn't know.
No, I understand. That's fair. I mean, especially if you haven't been there yet. I'm just curious, and this is a wild curiosity off the record. You have to understand that I'm very, I'm all over the place whenever my mind's not ever in one place. What gun do you have? You mentioned you were gifted one.
I was a 38 special. It's a revolver.
Okay, gotcha. Just curious. No particular reason why. I was just curious. Okay, so a lot of what I've talked about in the last, I don't know, however months, especially when the Nashville trans shooter shot up the Covenant School, there was a really, really hard, heavy push and a violent push by persons in the trans community. And I'm not going to generalize here and say that the entire trans community, because that would include you. And I'm not trying to throw you in that same boat, but a faction of the trans community, if you will, were very hostile, very angry with everyone else who did not accept their position. And they were making online threats, literal online threats through videos, through posts. There was even the Trans Day of Vengeance that was planned, and then they changed the name to something else. How do you view that portion of the trans community, and do you consider yourself part of it?
No, I don't consider myself part of that. I feel like we're being weaponized. Like they're trying to send out a message that, oh, we're evil, or being that the trans people are evil, that they shoot up people. They're trying to use this as a weapon to push their anti-gun agenda. So they're using us as a scapegoat because we didn't come out till like the early 2000s when trans people started to become mainstream. And so that I feel like we're being weaponized.
Well, and it's, I guess the irony of that is you say that you feel like they're weaponizing the trans community. I'm sure you're aware, if you follow my program, that I believe we're up to 3 or 4 shootings, mass shootings, if you want to use their terms, by people in the trans community this year alone. So proportionately, the trans community is responsible for far more. If you use, again, ratios and proportions and a per person ratio, the trans community is disproportionately represented right now in those shootings, those quote mass shootings. So how do you feel about that? Because clearly, if they're trying to weaponize you guys, the trans community is not doing a very good job of dispelling that myth, unless, of course, those 4 shootings by trans people were set up somehow. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like they were set up because that's how I see the shootings. They're done by the anti-gunners so they can push their anti-gun agenda by causing chaos and causing mass devastation by preying on the emotions of the mothers and family. That's why the mothers are angry, and then they want to push for the anti-gun, and they pretty much strip our Second Amendment rights, and it leads down a slippery slope.
So you do believe that it's the end game is to chip away at the Second Amendment, and that's their way of doing it?
Yeah, by doing anything they can.
Okay. And to be clear, I don't have a position on that. That's not my thoughts. I'm just making sure that I clarify what you think is happening right now. I'm curious. Okay. Let's go back to, I guess, talking about the mental issue and the ownership of guns and things like that. I don't know if you know all of these numbers, the research numbers that I've done, but there's 40% of people in the trans community have attempted suicide, not thought about it, not contemplated it, not discussed it. 40% have actually tried to commit suicide. That is an alarmingly high number. That's higher than people with severe depression. You would assume that those people would have a pretty high suicide attempt rate also. And on top of that, I don't want the answer to be, well, that's because we're being attacked, because my I guess part B to that question would be the LGBT community and the trans, what's the best way for me, partners, like whoever you guys are dating, married to, or whichever. Those are the people responsible for the quote spike in violence against the trans community. You see headlines all over the place that say, oh, there's this massive spike in violence against the trans community. Everybody's attacking the trans community. The thing is, we aren't the ones attacking the trans community. In other words, white Christian male or whatever, maybe straight people. I don't know. I don't know how you guys categorize us, but we're not the ones doing the attacking. If there's any spike, statistics and all facts have been proven that the LGBT community, or at least let me take that back, the LGB part of the LGBT community, I get caught up in it sometimes. Take the T out of it right now. Those people are the ones attacking a lot in the trans community and vice versa. And then a lot of the trans people, their partners, whether it be sexual partners or dating partners, are the ones who are committing the violence against them. If you look at the numbers, it ain't us, but yet that is the narrative that they're trying to put out there to make it look like we are the problem. And they're trying to make it look like honest law-abiding gun owners are attacking you guys. I know it's a lot to think about, but what do you think about that?
Well, I think that a lot of the LGBTQ, like a lot of them are radicalized with the left because, well, the propaganda that the left accepts them and the Republicans hate them. In my opinion, I see them as, well, I believe in acceptance and, well, I really don't know what to say.
No, I understand. Dan, that was just the point that I wanted to make. I hear that a lot, and I see that narrative that especially the media wants to make that somehow, quote, far right or right-leaning people, which they always try to throw gun owners in with that, that somehow or another we're the problem and we're attacking trans people, and that is a factual incorrection. That is not right, and it's not true. So you're familiar with the Nashville shooting, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Without me asking you any specific questions, which I will here in a second, what are your thoughts on that whole situation? Just give me your from a high level, your thoughts on that entire situation.
Well, it's a tragedy, yes, and it is bad. But then we have the anti-gunners using it to push their agenda, and then we have what those mothers were doing, trying to push for anti-gun. And then all of a sudden, these anti-gun laws just sweep through, and it's like right as Biden has had the end of his career, all of these laws are coming through, all this tragedy and stuff.
Okay, you've seen the footage, you've heard about. I remember originally when the shooting took place,
and I've seen the police footage too.
Yep. Well, I know originally that one of the police chiefs came out and he had seen the manifesto. And he was very specific at first when he stated that the manifesto had other places that were identified that this trans person was going to go. And just he mentioned some of the specifics and that there were that the reasons why this person committed that heinous crime was actually in there. And now we're not seeing it. What do you think the reason is that we're not seeing this manifesto?
Probably because they had some sort of underlying mental illness, or, well, it could have been a setup. It's either one.
Yeah. And look, I know you don't speak for the entire trans community any more than I speak for the entire gun community. I was just curious while I had you, what your thoughts on that were. Answer me this. Okay, you consider yourself part of the quote trans community. Do you have other friends who are trans?
I have one.
So. Okay. Does that person have violent thoughts and things like that, like some of these people who have come out and threatened non-trans people?
No.
Do you know anybody that actually would be part of that extreme side of the trans community?
Not that I know of.
Okay, now I'm going to get into some questions that are probably random questions that I just want to know your thoughts on. Okay, first of all, who did you vote for in 2016 for president?
I did not vote at the time.
Oh, well, you couldn't. That's right. Yeah, you're just now 20, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so who you vote? You probably right on the edge of that. Who did you vote for in 2020?
I originally voted for Trump, but I'm not a MAGA, so I just didn't want Biden in office.
Okay, so in the 2020 election, you voted for Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Okay, if you had to vote for him today, how would you vote? Or had to vote for president today, how would you vote?
Well, I'd either go for the Kennedy guy, or, well, because I don't want Biden in office, but I'd either go for the candy or just Trump again because there's not really much good people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of corruption.
Oh, fair enough. You're right. Without giving too much away, because we're doing our best to protect your identity, what part of the country do you live in?
Texas.
Texas? Okay. All right. So you probably Texas is not as red as people think. It's getting a little purple. Um, so you probably have a good mix of people, around you in those communities.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious if we're being fair about this, and I just want to get this one last question in before we go. If we're being fair about the mental condition, the mental state, how would you feel if a law were passed that people who were classified with a mental condition in psychiatry or psychology books, if they were deemed not able to purchase a firearm, which the 4473 kind of says that now. How do you feel about that? If you were told, if you went to an FFL and said, I want to buy a firearm, and when you got to that place to say that, do you have mental condition or whichever, if you put, yes, I do, and you refuse to purchase a firearm, what would your thought be at that point?
It'd be a violation of my Second Amendment rights because I have a God-given right to defend myself, my family, and everybody around me.
Okay, fair enough. Speaking of family, do you have family in the area where you live?
Yeah.
Are your family supportive of what your position is with the trans kind of
Uh,
position?
they support me. Yes.
Okay. I'm just curious because of the narrative that the wackos in the far left try to push. Have you been attacked, made fun of, harassed, violently beaten, or whatever? Has anything happened to you? And I know I'm not really talking about smart aleck comments because honestly, back in my day, I had long hair because I played in a rock band, and I would hear people make comments. I don't mean the little smart comments that you hear people say. I'm talking about actual violence. Have you been attacked or violated in any kind of way?
No.
I mean, do you feel like that's an issue? In other words, when you go out in the community, obviously you said you have long hair and you dress like a woman. Do you feel like you're on the verge of being attacked, or do you feel like people like myself may not understand or agree with you?
There's some edge. Like I go to some places and they look at me. I've even been confused for a girl once, and then I speak, and well, they give me a dirty look, and I just immediately leave.
Okay, got you. Well, it sounds like the smart thing to do. I mean, I don't think any of us would welcome any kind of violence. I guess my point in all of this is I don't. I I operate in a pretty large community, the gun community, and then here in the community that I live in, I interact with a lot of people. I don't know anyone that has a violent reaction to the trans community when we talk about it. I just don't see that. And I see the left trying to push that. And I wonder how much of this is being built up by the wackos on the far left to try to get us either to try to attack trans people or at least to try to keep that narrative out there that we are the unsafe ones because there's this fictitious violence that supposedly we're committing. I don't understand that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
It seems like it was set up like they have a plan, they have an end goal, and they're trying to do it like either before Biden leaves or after Biden leaves, they continue it. It just depends on who wins the election.
Right. Okay, look, I totally appreciate everything, you reaching out to me and you agreeing to be on this program. And I hope I handled your situation with as much respect as you expected from me, because I certainly didn't want to disrespect you in any kind of way. Again, I don't agree with the position that you're in, but I also don't disrespect people who are giving me equal respect. That's not something that I would do. So we can agree to disagree on that. I just want to make sure you understand my position on that and how much I do appreciate and respect you for coming on my program.
I understand, and I'm glad I got to get my voice heard.
Sounds good. Well, Sage, I appreciate it. Please stay on the line for a second when we cut out of here because I want to talk to you for a second. But I know my viewers probably have a lot of questions. So if you would do me the favor, and I'm not trying to out you. Again, we're trying to protect your identity. But if you have an account that doesn't draw people directly to you on YouTube, If people have questions in the comment section, I would ask you as a favor if you could look at the comments, and there may be some ugly ones in there too, and I'll do my best to police those if I can. I usually don't delete comments unless they are direct threats. So unless somebody threatens you, I won't delete the comment. But I would ask you to go in and look at the comment section of this video after it airs, because people may have questions. You seem like a very reasonable person. You seem like a fair person, and I would love those answers to come from you rather than me. So if
Yeah.
you could do me that favor, I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll be there looking at the comments.
Okay, that sounds good. With Sage, thank you so much for being on my program. I appreciate that, and much respect to you for agreeing to come on here, and I appreciate you following the program as you do.
Thank you.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's over.